Hello, hello, Nibiru fam. Can you guys hear me okay?
Oh, we can hear you. Let's get this started. Welcome to Nibiru Unchained, the X space where we unpack everything happening on Nibiru, from key updates to the latest development across the ecosystem. I'm Sir Poopsala, trader, artist by day, shit poster by night, and today we're taking a closer look at what's driving Nibiru forward. Of course, I'm not unpacking this alone. I got Texas finest here to help break it all down. Juno Crypto, Juno in the building.
Hey, what's up, y'all? I am Juno Crypto. Really happy to be here.
Wait, hold on. Is it Juno like the movie Juno, or the pregnant girl that gets pregnant by Michael Cera?
Okay, well, first of all, you're not the first person to ask me that. There's probably been like 100 people. But no, I am not named after. My name is spelled Juneau, which a lot of people don't know this, but that's the capital of Alaska, not the pregnant girl one. That's Juno. Completely different spelling. But that said, my dog, I'm from Texas, right? So people are like, why the capital of Alaska? Well, my dog was a Siberian Husky, and I know that doesn't make 100% sense, but he's from the cold. Anyways, thanks a lot again for the introduction, Sir Poops a lot. I am Juno Crypto, and I'm really pumped today and really ready to talk about the EVM and what is coming out. And in fact, I'm going to try to pin a tweet. I'll let you know when I get it pinned. Go ahead and keep going. Let me get that pinned.
Oh yeah, no worries. And again, now while you're doing that, if we do have the developers here and the team, I know you're posting up a pin, but would you like to do the honors, sir?
Yeah. Let me go ahead and introduce the team while I get that set up. Team from Nibiru, as I introduce yourself, please do some sort of an emoji to let everyone know who you are. So first, I'll start off with our Unique Divine, the CEO of Nibiru. Let's see the emoji Unique.
Oh, geez, let's go.
There it is, the laugh. Okay. All right, next we have Brandon Kawasaki. Abi Suzuki.
We're going after you after this.
I warned him about this prior. I was like, hey, by the way, I'm going to say. So, okay, next up is Eric, our ecosystem lead, who is also one hell of a salsa dancer, from what I hear. I'm going to need to see that IRL. Noelle, Nibiru's full-time gamer and designer.
Woo, video game.
I don't see her. And then we also have Nibiru's Habibi, Kaliko Nino, although I'm not sure if he'll be speaking today. He is here as well. What's up, man? Throw an emoji.
That was big. That was a right there.
Yeah, that was. Okay, now I'm going to go ahead and let you introduce the community member that we want to highlight this week, and I am going to figure out that post. Go ahead and keep going.
Oh, yeah, no worries, man. We got, a member out there, what I spy with my little beady eyes, Stefanski or Stefan. You see him on Telegram. You see him on Discord. The guy's like the biggest, fan for Nibiru. He's been cheering us on from the beginning. And we just want to give him a major shout out for all the support. And we're going to post him up as well, right? Right, Juno? Just show him some love as well.
Yeah, again, congrats. So this is something that we're going to try to highlight every time we have spaces. The community is such a big piece of what we're doing. And we really want to amplify them as much as they amplify us. And he's one of the people that is constantly supporting us across platforms, Discord, Telegram. So again, thanks a lot, man. Really do appreciate it.
Awesome. Thank you, Stefanski. And I'm going to definitely be stalking you. So keep your eye out on me. But let's move forward. Let's kind of butter up the audience a little bit. Before we get into the innovation, let's kick things off with a little segment I like to call Tales from the Block, where we talk about real stories from the Wild West of crypto, like the big wins from the cautionary tales and, just straight up ridiculousness. And today's star is Dave Portney. Or Portney? Is it Portnoy? Portney?
Pretty sure it's Port.
It could be Portnoy. Who knows? Tomato, right?
Yeah.
So he's the founder of Barstool Sports, a guy known for his high stakes gambling, stock market antics, jumping headfirst into like crypto without checking the waters, right? So here's what happened. Portnoy or Portney, you choose, you decide, did a classic degen move. Decided to drop nearly about 170K worth of Solana into a token called Libra. And to keep things short,
this dude's a whale though, right? So 170 Gs is like nothing for him.
Oh yeah, it's like a freckle off his butt cheek. It's nothing. It's completely just something that he used to throw around because he made a lot of money. And so to keep things short, bought the wrong Libra. So there are actually two Libras floating around. There is the controversial meme coin linked to Argentinian President Javier Milei, which has been causing a lot of chaos in the Argentinian political scene. The other, just a random ass Libra token with no connection.
All right. So wait, hold on a second. Do you know if it was like a scam or a rug, or what was it exactly?
Oh, so basically it was a copycat.
Okay.
But this wasn't on his bingo card. As soon as he made that buy, the price completely unrelated to the unrelated Libra shot up about 3,000%.
Okay, hold on a second. So wait, I don't know what you said about bingo. I'm sorry, I missed that part. But either way, so he pumped the token pretty much, which makes sense because it's off of an A&M, right? So he just pumped it up 3,000%. Well, did he do that all by himself, or?
Oh no, yeah, he had his followers just doing the same thing he did. He just did the jump, and they jumped along, followed along, and just by existing and making the buy, he pumped that random copycat token into orbit. And then realizing what he did, he goes on X and he writes a little something like this. Anybody want to buy some fake Libra? Warning, this is a meme coin. I bought it by accident. And then he straight up tells people it will be volatile. It'll eventually go to zero. And it may rip, it may tank. Don't put in more than you can lose. It's a collectible.
Okay, well, it's like, first of all, it's not a collectible. Second of all, it's definitely going to zero. There's no way. And I see it. Damn, that sucks. I would definitely dump that. Jesus.
Yeah. Dude, because the copycat Libra token crashed soon after, and Portnoy's investment tanked from like 170K to around 62K. Last I checked, it, like you said, it could be zero now.
Right. I do kind of wonder if he'd dumped it since then. Well, I guess the lesson learned here is that always check the address, the volume, even if you're a degen and you do this every day. It's always a good idea to check off all those boxes before you make a buy.
Oh, yeah, exactly. Like you said, it's a reminder how easy it is to get wrecked in crypto if you're not triple checking what you're buying. So right now, this is the end of our segment from Tales from the Crypto. I want to get into the nitty gritty and about, the EVM and the mainnet launch. Would you like to do the honors to start off with the ultimate Q&A?
Yeah, most definitely. So we're going to, the first part is going to be more about the Nibiru EVM and the mainnet launch. For those who are unaware, can you describe what Nibiru EVM is and why this is significant for builders and users?
Sure. Can you guys hear me?
Oh, yeah, I can hear you.
Yes.
What a beautiful.
So Nibiru EVM, and EVM stands for Ethereum Virtual Machine. It's a significant backward compatible upgrade to the Nibiru blockchain that integrates the Ethereum Virtual Machine directly into the architecture. So what that means is people can execute smart contracts written for Ethereum in addition to the set developed in Rust for CosmWasm right now. So people can easily port over EVM-based applications and also any related infrastructure, whether that's for oracles, explorers, using any of the tooling, wallets, right? Like now we can use things like MetaMask, Phantom, all of that stuff. So that's pretty important both for people building and for people using the chain. Because for builders, you get to use a familiar development environment. So that lowers the barrier to entry and makes it easier, like not only for the business development team to, migrate over more prominent applications and get people that are willing to port over liquidity, but it also just means we don't have to develop a whole suite of new tools. People can use what they're already familiar with. And also if they have already audited code, they don't need to get another audit to do a redeployment. It's essentially just changing addresses and constants. Then for users, it expands the range of, essentially it's same cause, but the range of apps and services they'll have on the chain expands like pretty drastically. For the reasons I just mentioned. So essentially we'll see more types of DEXs, lending platforms, yield bearing tokens, structured products, everything like that.
Awesome. Looking forward about that. Okay. What is WASM and how different is it from the EVM?
Yeah. So I guess I could give a little bit of backstory on this. Okay. So WebAssembly in general, which is what WASM is an abbreviation for. WebAssembly is a general purpose virtual machine, which is different than the Ethereum virtual machine is tailored specifically to digital assets. It's specific to Ethereum. So it's a combination of a VM and a runtime that's specific for Ethereum's use case. I'll explain what this all means, but WASM is a general purpose VM, so it's more flexible in that several programming languages can compile down to WASM. So one of its key benefits then that's marketed for, or in the crypto context, is you get to leverage the existing tooling that's already there for languages to build WASM binaries. So in the case of Rust, there's a lot of that. It's also popular to use in like TypeScript. So essentially, that's a bet on using Web 2 developer facing tooling for compilers and interpreters where there's a set, there's thousands of developers actively improving WASM and contributing to that ecosystem independent of whatever's happening in Web3. So that's useful. I mean, if you follow like the WASM VM updates, there's all these like gas improvements and cool stuff happening with the VM that kind of occurs independent of what's going on with the people in crypto that are using it. So for example, like Figma, AutoCAD, like Google Earth, these all use WASM because it's like it's a fast binary format and pretty good.
Oh.
They were even saying like, I've heard it thrown around a couple times, like it's probably the case that the EVM would have just been WASM if it were developed early enough. Like WASM is a really new thing introduced in like 2017 or 18, whereas like Ethereum's initial release, if you're counting like that first upgrade, was like 2015. So part of it was just like it didn't exist early enough. But yeah, so that's a little bit of background on like WebAssembly in general. But regarding like CosmWASM, a specific application of it, that's WASM contracts in the Cosmos ecosystem. So why it exists is it offers a lot of flexibility. So it was WASM, or if in my opinion, CosmWASM was made to address the issue. Native modules provide granular control, such as for like staking or integrating with the consensus layer, whereas smart contracts allow you to make rapid iterations to make products and just basically augment business logic a lot easier. So upgrading SDK modules, which is essentially upgrades for people that use Comet BFT, can be more straightforward than with other systems, but it feels like a hard fork because likely when you have to deploy a new module or do one of these upgrades, everyone has to upgrade their software at the same height. Basically, you have to get the entire chain to switch out binaries, do a state dump, and like export and restart. Which all of that is to say is it's a process like very error prone. So generally, if you see long halts and consensus failures on a chain using Comet BFT, it usually has to do with this process of doing an upgrade because it's so easy to mess up. So WASM brings to most of those chains a ton of security benefits, means you can iterate on business logic faster, and then compared with the EVM has a lot of like security vulnerabilities and smart contracts like built out at compile time. So for example, like reentrancies, I think I hear is thrown around like 70 or 80% of smart contract hacks, and you're kind of not able to do that with WASM. And in addition to other things like certain denial of service attacks, things with like underflow and overflow, you can just write out. And it's super useful for cross-chain calls with IPC. So like we've been on a space with like Astrovault before. They use that, for example. And I think Euclid as well integrates some of that cross-chain functionality of IBC. Okay, so that was a mouthful, but yeah, in spite of these advantages, though, with WASM, became pretty clear that although the EVM has some technical drawbacks compared to it, it has a ton of established network effects that help accelerate its adoption and basically make it that it's way easier to, like, a lot of teams just want to continue building on the EVM, even though it's flawed, right? So I'd say that's the biggest difference between those two VMs for us, or for me, is the Ethereum ecosystem has a ton of established network effects. And so it makes a lot of sense to just like scale the chain and make it fast and adapt ourselves to the tech people already want to use, rather than trying to migrate everybody off of, you know, their familiar token standards and wallets and everything. Hopefully that was like comprehensive for people.
Oh no, yeah. He said my lasagna or my brain. I call my brain lasagna. This is Kyle. You're just listening. That's great information, man. Thank you for sharing that.
Yeah, I actually think that's really interesting. And let's dig into the EVM a bit more. I looked it up on ChatGPT, so I know it's 100% accurate. You know, I looked up how many Ethereum active monthly builders there are, and it says 6,200. And so my question is, how does Nibiru plan to attract those EVM devs to Nibiru's EVM? I mean, I think you kind of touched base on it a bit, but people, if you could just like talk in a little more into that.
Yeah, I think so one is Well, okay, I don't know how accurate that figure is, but also I think there's a difference between like the developers working on Ethereum, like the chain itself versus just building apps on it. So a big thing with this upgrade was to make it with tool compatibility is that you're trying to make it that the developer is working on everything in Solidity. It's rather than them needing to switch over to like the ETH or something else. It's just that they are viable developers on Nibiru, or they could redeploy their app, right? So it's not so much that you're competing to like take them away from Ethereum as much as you're just making it possible that all the stuff they've been developing is still is useful on our chain or can integrate with our chain. So that's just like your first caveat. But more broadly, I think your question is just like, how do you attract developers? So I think it's like well known users don't like when transactions are slow or pretty expensive. So a lot of the improvements on Nibiru are just about like performance and scalability. So you may have seen like a couple of the research pieces talking about different things we're doing in terms of like consensus, like wrapped under the bucket, like the umbrella term, like Nibiru BFT. So that's going to be like, so just for context, like a lot of chains can get really high theoretical TPS numbers, like whether that's both inside, like let's say Say Network, or sometimes you'll see that reported by like Sui or Solana, but they have these kind of trade-off of decentralization versus getting a ton of performance. One thing, let's take like Say for instance, and well, actually the rest of the Cosmos chains more broadly, they have, all of them by default have really high baseline TPS just from how tenured consensus works. But the validator set size is restricted to be pretty small. So a lot of times when you compare like Solana versus Ethereum, Solana is like real TPS is closer to like 700. And I think it's got like 2,000 validator. I haven't checked this in a while. Ethereum has like in the hundreds of thousands versus Say has like 35, right? So that there's a clear like bottleneck in terms of like number of nodes involved in consensus. So that's one of the areas we're working on. So, and again, with it still being like fully EVM equivalent. The other would be, we're planning to integrate both like parallel optimistic execution as well as other forms of parallel execution, which are going to eke out even more performance. Already, Nibiru is faster than most Cosmos chains already, so it has pretty high baseline TPS now. But essentially, it's the main takeaway is that the goal is to be a contender of building on and improving upon the regular Ethereum stack in terms of performance and scalability. And so basically a lot of the things are coming out from both our research, and that we'll continue to talk about both with this launch and going past it, is going to center on that concept.
Right, that makes sense. So as opposed to a lot of people do that via an L2, you're doing it as an L1.
Correct, yeah.
All right, great. And here's another question for you, Nick. What's the strategy for attracting liquidity?
Sure. So ultimately a blockchain is an infrastructure. So I think the success of the chain is really just the success of the applications developed on the chain. So the biggest way we can attract liquidity is just have the apps do well on the chain, right? So it's basically getting as much usage in TVL to like things like Astrovault, like other DEXs, lending, things like that. So, but to give more like itemized answer to the question, one is just like the open collaboration with with people at Nibi Inc. and at the Nibiru Foundation, right? So the team offers a ton of support for everything from like, pitching, entity formation, raising technical help, like as much as we can without like wanting anything in return necessarily. And a big emphasis has also been placed on doing collaborations and support without any requirement of exclusivity or necessarily trying to be like predatory to other chains, right? So that's a lot of teams building on us have found that as like a big positive. Another big emphasis, I guess, is more maybe in terms of just BD focus, or when you're building an ecosystem, it's less it's much more of a manual process than you would suspect. So the things that you put a lot of effort into going to do like sourcing for is essentially what will occur in the ecosystem. So we put a lot of emphasis on trying to get projects that'll have sustainable growth through organic revenue streams, or at least have something that flows back to the applications. So that's going to be things like structured products, leveraged yield, liquidity managers, or things that have yield bearing tokens where the yield is coming from something like a treasury or an like trading activity on a centralized exchange. Just something that is non-Ponzi, basically, if for no better way to describe that. So that's pretty crucial because it defends the ecosystem from having an over reliance on token incentives, where you might see on certain newer chains where the TVL just shoots up for a couple months or like a really short window of time instead of becoming a long-term value moat. And then, yeah, more on the technical side, I touched on this a little bit in the previous answer, but basically users hate when transactions take forever or when they're expensive. So that's part of the like major appeal of Solana or those chains is why you see people talking about things like Firedancer and other upgrades like that is those are solutions to, in that case, the network congestion or things taking too long or being too expensive. So right now it's like we're not at the same level of usage to justify it saying it's the same, but basically Nibiru is like just as scalable as Solana, probably more, and we're going to continue to improve that.
Yeah. And then one thing I also want to add is, we've been chatting with various liquidity providers. One thing we're, pretty adamant about not being part of is, partaking with like mercenary capital. So these are like, some restaking protocols, like Bitcoin restaking protocols that essentially want the foundation to guarantee X amount of like APY, which, in the short run can seem like it could be good for like TVL, but it's mercenary, right? So as soon as any lockups like are finished, the LPs typically pull that liquidity, and usually they don't do it in phases, right? They pull it all at once. So those types of structures really only incentivize whales and big, like folks with big like bags, but not really the little fish, right? So definitely avoiding those types of combos and really trying to focus on getting the sustainable yield to users.
Yeah, I think the point you're touching on, like simply overpaying to show a nice TVL figure for a while is more just feeding into like a vanity metric than it is helping anybody, right? So yeah, definitely want to avoid that.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. An actual vision and executing that vision, I really like it personally. So why should people from other L1s migrate to Nibiru?
Oh, I guess that's kind of a mix of the answers we said in the other things, but basically it's tool compatibility. Like if they, in this case, I guess you're saying L1 specifically. So most L1s tend to use different tech stacks. So it makes it a little bit complex for the end user. But really I guess if you're really the best comparison is like maybe Monad too. If they're wanting to stick to EVM stuff, but essentially, want fast and cheap transactions, that I think we're going to be a go-to place for that. But really, I think again, it comes back to which applications can we make really big and thrive on the chain. So it's more going to be about like okay, this V2 upgrade is making the platform more conducive to have better apps, but we still need to like grow those apps to bring over a lot of people.
Yeah, I want to add that it's not so much about migration now. I think what we're seeing is this multi-chain future now that bridge technologies are easier, that wallets are showing like more multi-chain interfaces, and it's becoming easier to move assets back and forth. Most apps seem to have this multi-chain strategy now, right? They want to be present on all the different chains with the different VMs, and they want to be compatible with as many different ecosystems. And so in our conversations with different dApps, that is the direction that they want to move towards. And then I think an interesting approach that we're taking is around the idea of structured products, which we throw around on Twitter a lot. But what does that mean? It means that we're treating each new dApp as a piece of a greater puzzle and connecting them with each other to create the second layer of like projects on top of the first layer. So the first layer would be like the primitives, right? Your lending platform, your DEX, your stable, your RWA, whether it's a T-bill backed asset or a commodity backed asset, your prediction market, your perps DEX. But then on top of that, you have the vaults, you have the automated strategies, you have the delta neutral positions that people can take by automating lending, borrowing against it, and then opening up a short against it as well. So we're assisting projects in moving towards that direction. So whereas if you launch on like a large chain, like yeah, you have the liquidity there, but you're kind of on your own. What we've seen is that a lot of projects have expressed that they like working with us because they get to talk to our team, they get to help, they get our help from like a BD perspective, that we make intros for them and that we help them think about the direction that they should move towards.
Well, awesome. It's all about unification, right? Well, Unique or anybody in the team, I have a big burning question that everybody here joined the space for. When is Nibiru EVM Mainnet?
Gotcha. So in some sense, it's already on Mainnet. although not for public launch, right? So we put out a couple tweets, but then also like a page of the docs that outlines this, which was essentially talking about different stages of the launch. So the current one is mainnet beta. So what does this mean? So we did put a governance proposal and did a first V2 upgrade that adds much of the core logic necessary to get all the infrastructure together for what would be thought of as like the proper public launch. So in reality, if you're technically savvy and can, you can use Ethereum type transactions and everything on Nibiru right now. It's just that why we have this mainnet beta period outlined from like a normal launch is because there's there's a transition period of at least a few weeks, because you need to set up things like bridges, registering and deploying tokens that don't exist yet, and handle a lot of kind of infrastructure related tasks that would make it conducive to, you know, bring the user experience to a point where retail users can use the chain. And for example, we also need to do like one more upgrade to like improve ERC20 tracking, for example, or for example, in our front end, adding a lot of the calls so people can go between the two token standards, since it's a multi-VM chain now. Or one thing we were doing today was working on how do you display unregistered tokens to make sure people don't click on to honeypots or something, right? Because that's like a common criticism of even things on like DEX Screener or Uniswap don't have any warning for, you know, like unverified tokens, so to speak. So in some sense, it's on mainnet, but the proper launch or a lot of the onboarding that you'll see with applications is kind of a few weeks out from now. But we did reach a pretty huge milestone with just getting to that first point of the V2 upgrade.
Oh, awesome. And like you mentioned earlier, it is safe to say that you're now a multi-VM, correct?
Yeah, that's correct. So both smart contract languages, both smart contract languages that we talked about earlier are usable. And then each account essentially has both an OX or hex address and an EV prefixed address. And these addresses both, again, point to the same account. But the difference is that different token standards and VMs use different kinds of addresses. So ICS20 tokens from IBC, or that is tokens like Osmo, Noble USDC, Atom, AXV, Nibi, which we often call bank coins, are managed via the bank module. So those transfers need a Nibi prefixed address, versus ERC20 tokens and EVM smart contracts. Well, ERC20 tokens are smart contracts and have their state managed by the EVM. So they use Ethereum addresses. So each Nibi address also corresponds to some Ethereum address way of looking at it, right? So that also means both interchain wallets and ETH wallets work on it, and then both token standards are supported on it.
That is really cool. I'm a huge fan of multi-VM. Everyone kind of always knew is the future in a way, right? I mean, it just makes a lot of sense. Multi-chain just works, right? So here's the next question. Since we're now multi-VM, once Nibiru EVM Mainnet, like the real mainnet public, is live, is there another VM you already have planned to add yet? And if so, can you share it with us today?
In some sense, yes, though that is likely another massive engineering effort. So it's not something I would say we're rushing into. Naturally, though, I think obviously the decision would be between Solana and Move, right? Solana's ahead right now, but Move may be a better long-term bet, because, well, honestly, in my opinion, it's objectively better tech, right? But it could end up being another like WASM and EVM scenario. So I don't think we should like rush into that decision, because again, winning as a VM is more about like adoption than what the theoretical TPS numbers are. And again, usually people do these as like experiments that no one else can reproduce, right? So our current architecture opens us up to the benefits of like both the interchain and the ETH stack at the same time. So that's probably enough, right? So it's important we first like accelerate and capitalize on that before going down the path of, another 12 or more month development cycle on another VM. So that's definitely something we're like open to and like want to explore. Just like going from like the initial mainnet of this chain up to the V2 upgrade, that is like a, just to manage expectations, that is a big effort again. So that would take a while. It would be Solana Move, long story short.
Yeah, I think first things first is to get all the apps, the EVM apps running first, kind of see the perception from both users and developers on the chain. And then from there, we can kind of decide, what the next DM we might strive to build towards. But of course, like Unique was mentioning, it's a pretty massive undertaking. So of course, like anything is possible later down the road for the VM strategy. But for now, definitely want to get the core primitives out, get some users on board, get them to start using some stake needy, just really start shipping out our products, because there's about like 80 or 90% of apps I have not been able to like share for like a while. I really do want to share with our community and, give the alpha. But of course, like I'd rather share it when the integrations are live. That way, the call to actions are pretty clear, and, users can simply just go in and, if they want to do a swap, they want to make a trade, or, do whatever, right? So, and that's coming, very soon. So we're pretty excited to be able to share those pretty major integrations we have coming up.
Awesome. Thank you, Brandon. Thank you, Unique. And I just want to take a little breather for you guys, so you guys get a little breath before we come back and ask for more questions. But I want to talk a little bit more about the ecosystem. I believe we have Melch in here inside the Unchained. Melch from Euclid Protocol. Come on up.
Hello. Yes, that's me. How you guys doing?
Very good. How you doing?
Doing good. I like everything the Nibiru team's always spitting out, so it's always good to hear what's on top of Unique's mind, and we're excited for the EVM.
Exactly. A lot of educational ones right now. I'm just soaking it all in. But for right now, for you, Melch, I got a question for you. Can you give us the TLDR on what Euclid Protocol is and why people should be paying attention?
Yeah, in short, we're a unified liquidity layer. So how we like to describe it is, everyone's familiar with the consensus layer, execution layer. What we're doing is building a unified liquidity layer using Nibiru and every other blockchain, so that we can unify liquidity and all the teams can tap into it to use it, thus solving the fragmented liquidity problem that we see across all blockchains. Right.
I believe you guys are running a private testnet right now as well. How's it going?
We did. Private testnet is actually, it's beautiful. We're currently in our seed round, and everybody that we show this thing to, their minds are just blown. Like when we can actually show them the private testnet, when you actually see like liquidity move from one chain to another, and you can choose what chain you want to use and where it lands. It's just kind of on a simple user interface like Euclid Swap, which will be the front end of the back end of the liquid Euclid layer. We'll have our own Euclid Swap where you can actually do it using our one of our applications, and it's just the coolest thing. So yeah, it's private testnet's going well. Public is coming very, very soon with our Euclid passports, which will be our like gamified on-chain coming there and stuff.
Oh, cool, man! I'm looking forward to that for sure. When it comes to the public testnet launch, any alpha on the rewards people can expect?
Rewards actually be determined next week. What we do have outlined is similar to what people are used to, where everyone's kind of the layer 3s or all the gamified quests, come get points. It's similar to that, but it's all built in-house and on-chain. So you can think of it as you're actually having to do stuff with Euclid, and then you're getting rewarded for it in points that can be redeemed. So the redemption part is a little bit tricky. We're still figuring that out. But the public testnet is like mere days away, so it will be figured out very quickly.
Awesome. And when is the TGE?
Oh man, TGE. Let's see. We are, I believe, mainnet. It'll probably be a little bit after mainnet. So we're looking at mainnet is probably April, May. It kind of depends on how this testnet goes. We've had to push it back a few times here, so we were expecting it to be out already, but I would expect sometime in a few months here is when we'll be on mainnet, and then TG will probably be quickly after.
Awesome. Thank you, man. Thank you for all the answers that you gave us. We're looking forward for you guys to be out there, for us to be keeping your eye on you. Next, I want to give the honors to Juno. Juno, would you like to introduce the next project?
Yes, thank you for asking me. So poops a lot.
You're welcome.
So today we have Eric with Astrovault, and thank you again for being here. Eric, what is the anatomy of Astrovault, and how does the DAO enable trading rewards? And I need to make sure you're there. I see you there.
Yo.
So,
The anatomy of Astrovault. That's a good question. We've got our own staking derivatives on the outside so that we can both secure the chains that we're on. So we've got like our XNIBI token, which is actively staking the Nibiru and securing the chain, while it's still tradable on our site. And the rewards go to the DAO, and then the DAO gives the rewards of the DAO token back to you guys. So You mess with XNIBI, you earn AXV, which is our DAO governance token. As we get Nibiru liquidity, we earn NIBI. So we become one big happy family. And then we got a couple weird pool types. We developed some fancy pools to be able to use the derivative at an exact 1-to-1 ratio, not need fancy Oracle solutions to make sure that collateral doesn't get liquidated when the price of the token doesn't change, stuff like that. There are no liquidations on us. We're not a lending protocol, but that's issues that we've seen with people messing with derivatives, as well as some fancy concentrated liquidity pool stuff, which we're going to be bringing a lot more to. And one of the reasons we're really excited about Nibiru, because as you mentioned, the network effects of being tied to Ethereum are fantastic. Interoperability is getting better, and Nibiru is leading the punch. And so we're making some fancy Ethereum type stuff that we want to be able to deploy in the most efficient way possible, which would be through Nibiru. So yeah,
that is awesome. And you guys are live right now on Nibiru, is that right?
Our base version's been built originally in Cosmos. So we built first on Archway and then Neutron, and now we're over on Nibiru because you guys are our way to users and growth and volume. So stoked about that. But right now we're deployed only on the WASM side. We're designing some more stuff that will then be deployed on the EVM side as well, just to make sure it can work fast as we deal with lots of Uni v4 type stuff and like hooks and everything. Access and fast access is going to be interesting. So yeah, we'll now be building on both sides.
That is awesome. And DeFi activities that people can do right now on WASM, they can use your DEX, they can swap. Is there anything else? LPs?
So right now you can swap, you can LP and earn AXV. Also, you can farm. As we prove, like, hey, as you mess with our token, we earn your token. We also distribute 20% of the staking rewards we earn from the Nibiru liquidity to our token holders. So if you have Nibiru and, like, say, USDC or Nibiru and AXV, you can deploy it and earn AXV as rewards. If you have AXV, you can stake it with no lockup time to earn NIBI rewards. That would be in our farm section over on Astrovault. We don't have a whole bunch of listings right now. I know we're waiting on a couple IBC stuff, and then we've got a couple more projects that are going to move some pools over to us. But then the EVM stuff is going to be a big unlocker. So we've got to build some stuff, but our fancy concentrated liquidity with your guys' fancy fast uptime and TPS and everything should make for some pretty cool EVM tokens tradable really efficiently on Nibiru.
That is awesome. Pump for that. And tell me, how is Astrovault position itself differently than other DEXs, just in general?
We came from my background's in economic philosophy. Always look at things first principles perspective. I love the science fair projects that crypto has created. I think that's a good and healthy way to discover new ecosystems. However, being that the science is often around money, I think it needs to be looked at in means of financial sustainability and security. There's a great thread written by some people yesterday even about how Uniswap is enacting DAO EV. Like, how much can the company extract from the DAO? They've got a token that has a $9.5 billion valuation with no monetization. They finally monetize it, still only for the company. They still bill the DAO $21 million a year to be willing to work for them. It's like the DAO is nothing but a slush fund for them to just take. And if the token goes to zero, they're still going to be fine, and it has nothing to do with them. That is the state of tokens. They copied Coinbase. They threw it on chain, but they gave all of the revenue from Coinbase to LPs to put it on chain. Realized, I don't have any revenue. Screw it. Let's launch a token. And people bought in because that was the state of things. At this point, it's Lindy and has good distribution. That's not good enough for decentralized business, which is what we believe in. So we needed to make a DEX that was actually profitable so that we could definitively sustain decentralized businesses, which will need decentralized means of access and decentralized means of trade going forward. So yeah, it's an economically sustainable DEX. It's actively a profitable DEX. And that was the entire reason we built it. We needed a better financial model for decentralized trading.
You know what? I am actually a huge proponent of profitable crypto projects. I think a lot of people don't like that so much, but it is such an important thing that you're self-sufficient. How are you helping other projects and teams in the ecosystem?
Yeah, thanks. So being that we earn the tokens of the people that are listed on us and direct the benefit from the trade fees and whatnot, whereas most DEXs yeah, they want to showcase numbers to their investors, but they don't really make anything. We by default are literally invested in the tokens that are listed with us. We are Nibiru investors. The AXV DAO owns several $1,000s worth of NIBI and growing, and going to grow. So it's our job to make sure that like our portcos, if you will, succeed. And so we try to do pro bono marketing. We obviously have an infrastructure team and provide actual like on-chain security. We help with tokenomics and just overall like biz dev and advice. But whatever expertise that us or any of our team members or any of our community have, we try to relay that to our partners. As well as we also built a launchpad that is supposed to be more fun and less extractive than most launchpads in the ecosystem. As launchpads try to be sustainable, there's not a lot of margin in launches, and so they have to be really extractive. And then there also hasn't been a lot of creativity. Everything's just around KOLs and getting people there and facilitating trades. That's super boring. And so we built one that's fun, that drives sales, and that doesn't extract very much because we already have a profitable DEX. We just want to funnel in new projects and new tokens to use our DEX to get new users. So we don't really need to just take dollars out of it. And so we've got outbid live on Nibiru right now. And so if new projects want to come and launch their token and not have us take any of the cash that you raise, just get some tokens and get you launched up with a liquidity pool as well. Call people some names like middle schoolers, have a fun UI, give out jackpots, and sell a whole bunch of tokens. We're your guys for it.
Oh yeah, dude, that sounds awesome. Actually, any last questions? Any last questions? Any last comments? Anything else you'd like to say to the audience?
Astrovault is co-sponsoring an event with Nibiru. So you guys are hosting an awesome event. We're stoked to jump on board, but I fly down to Denver tomorrow. I'm actually going to be speaking towards the end of the week. I do a decent amount of work in the EVM space. That's why we're trying to get more connected, but I'll be speaking on restaking with insurance and reinsurance with a couple big name stuff people out there. But yeah, if anyone's in Denver for ETH Denver, come to our Nibiru and Astrovault. I think you guys have a couple other hosts. Come to our event. Let's talk about our ecosystem.
I'm so jealous. I really wish I was in Denver right now. I have missed the last couple of years. Definitely plan on going soon. Well, enjoy it. Enjoy Denver. Thanks a lot for coming on to the show today and telling us all about Astrovault. It sounds amazing.
Let's go.
Hey, thank you guys for having me. Love what you're doing.
Thanks, man.
Let's go Astrovault and let's go Euclid. Big old cheers. Get your emojis up there. Show some love. And
almost Euclid, you guys are killing it. Keep it up.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Thanks. We'll see you in Denver too, man. I'm excited.
I want to go to Denver. Can you fly me down there too? Come on, Euclid.
Run that one past George. We'll book him on it.
All right, perfect. All right, so let's go back to the team. Branding Kawasaki. Suzuki. Sorry. How is the chain focused on delivering products that generate sustainable yield? Like, what upcoming product in the Nibiru ecosystem should users be excited about?
Yeah, for sure. So I think the biggest thing I'm pretty pumped for is just, our emphasis towards structured products. About 3 weeks ago, we just, our proposal with MIMSwap and Abracadabra went live and passed. And so we'll be getting both of those integrations. I think Abracadabra still is awaiting a proposal, but for now, at least, we'll be getting MIMSwap live on the mainnet launch. Pretty excited about just getting vaults up and live as well. And so, really with vaults, it'll be easy to implement various yield strategies for users. Just really streamlining that overall experience. And when I look at the Nibiru web app and just kind of like what we've been focused on building the last year. It's really just, and going back to the points that were kind of brought on, like it's really about unifying the user experience. And I feel like when you start seeing the puzzles come together, and things really come into fruition, and once the public mainnet is live, like I just can't wait for people to be able to actually use, various blue chip assets, not just NIBI, throughout the ecosystem, and really see that, like, we're a very inclusive ecosystem, and we prioritize the user experience and journey throughout the process. So I think just having been building products that are so user focused and oriented is really what helps like chains stand out from the everlasting pool of other chains, right? So I think MIMSwap, Abracadabra, The few others I obviously can't name quite yet. But I mean, the DeFi, when we're able to publish our logos, I think maybe sometime next week, just like all the integrations we have going, you guys will see like, wow, like they have been building like behind the scenes for some time. And, you know, I just can't wait for the recognition for the team to like finally come to fruition, right? Because I know a lot of people are focused on, you know, other external things, and I totally get it. But at the end of the day, like we're all contributors and builders, and you know, Eric and the BD team has been doing nonstop outreach, prospecting. I mean, they're literally going to Denver to host an event on our behalf, and you know, coordinating all that just with all the involved parties. It's not easy, right? That in addition to just focusing on our upcoming launches, right? Like it takes you know, we're a lean team at the end of the day, so just coordinating all of that has been it's been a journey, but it's been fun nonetheless. So
Oh yeah, exactly. That journey is around the corner. It's about to start. Basically, it was like you guys are just getting the main chunk out, but the whole beginning of the journey is around the corner for the public mainnet, and I'm excited for it. I'm excited.
yeah. And then I will add one thing I'm also pretty excited about on the chain is just like our emphasis towards like RWAs as well. I think what we've seen with the recent like presidential elect, you know, I think a lot of we'll start seeing more clarity around crypto regulation and more so how we can kind of navigate like RWA products, for example, right? Like I've been kind of seeing with some of the conversations we've had with partners that, you know, they're building tokenized like securities, and you know, that's opening up a new door for, you know, investment opportunities for, you know, folks that might be overseas but want to, you know, be part of like the US economy, for example, right? You can now buy a tokenized version of like Apple stock or Tesla stock. So, you know, we're chatting with partners like these, right? Like that really have a wider, bigger vision, right? It's not really just about meme coins and extracting as much value from the space. It's about, you know, how we can really, you know, bring forth a lot of the inefficiencies we see in Web 2 and, you know, bringing that into Web 3 in a, you know, in a cohesive manner.
And for the more degen DeFi user, like myself, what apps can they look forward to?
Yeah. So, you know, going off of meme coins, we will have a meme coin launchpad. They will also be offering meme coin perps. So it's a suite of products, right? So they have the launchpad, which, you know, when a token reaches 100% on the bonding curve, the token goes live on their dedicated DEX. So they also have a V2 DEX. But in addition to that, there will also be perps. So, you know, users can kind of, you know, I guess like degen on what they think and kind of speculate on the price of those meme coins. We will also have prediction markets. So we have PRDT, which is already live. We'll also be adding Bracket, which I think we've shared a while back. But Bracket is more so based on a lot more current events. So sports, like, you know, UFC fights, March Madness sports brackets and whatnot. So
Nice.
really excited for the flavor of apps. On the NFT side, we have several NFT marketplaces. I can't reveal one of the names quite yet. We literally just signed the deal like less than 24 hours ago. It's a pretty prominent marketplace in the space. So really excited for that. We do have OpenMark, which has been a partner of ours for some time. I think they're also building like this like PUBG, like King of the Hill style games. So look forward to kind of how they incorporate in-game assets to their NFT marketplace. That's kind of how they're positioning themselves. But I think one thing I would love to see on the chain too, because at the end of the day, you know, we talk about like value extraction and whatnot. You know, I'm a degen at heart too. So it would be good to see some, you know, degen-esque games on the chain. So we've been reaching out to, you know, some game developers in the space, specifically within crypto. But yeah, in terms of degen, I think that's about it for now.
Well, yeah. As soon as you said sports, I'm like, oh my god, you said it. I'm in. Give me in.
As soon as you said NFTs, I was like, yeah, blame it out. degen on NFTs all day long. I have a bit of a problem. So this is the last question that we will actually ask on every show, more than likely. And this is what I always want to know when I'm on a Spaces. And I'm pretty sure everyone out there wants to know. Does the team, or anyone for that matter, that's a speaker, have any alpha for us, any alpha for the audience, or any final thoughts?
Yeah, so if you guys are following Nibiru Chain on Twitter, of course, you guys have seen that we've been, you know, slowly releasing some content, of which, you know, it's kind of the staged approach launch of our EVM. If you've been watching that progress bar, I would highly advise continuing to watch that bar over the next coming weeks. Obviously progress is supposed to go up, right? So we have some fun things that are planned and lined up for for new eyes, but also our community members. So stay tuned for that. There's a pretty big initiative to kind of follow with the launch of the EVM. Can't really share details, but if you guys kind of dig into our blogs and whatnot, you might be able to find some what I'm referencing. Can't reveal much there, but I think sometime next week we should be able to share the full list of our ecosystem and the partners we anticipate to go live on the public launch of EVM. So I guess that's a little bit of the initial alpha. So you guys will be able to see what apps are actually coming to Nibiru, what the DeFi ecosystem landscape will look like. Yeah, stay tuned. We've just hired both Juno and Sir Poops a lot as our CMs, so they're going to be running some activities in our Discord ongoing. It will be beneficial. We do have an ambassador program called Blossom to try and, get up in the ranks and get the Anunnaki role, because I for one, I talk in there quite frequently, and I do share, whether it's like Figma mockups of like early stage app development. There's a lot of alpha there that I share that I try to, really maintain the integrity of for the Anunnakis and, keep it exclusive. So I'd say by the next bi-weekly Unchained call we will have, I think we'll be able to share a bit more alpha, or perhaps I don't know, like, you're gonna have to wait and see.
All right, you're gonna have to tune in other words. And the Anunnaki cabal is definitely where you need to be, by the way. And me and Sir Poops a lot. We are the alphas. That's right.
I pooped more than one time, man.
Right. Sir Poops, plural, a lot.
Oh yeah, it's like Brendan was mentioning about what we're planning. We're talking about just UFC events and also getting a Twitch account to actually start playing games. So any of you gamers out there want to just game with us, on a weekend or something like that, we're going to be planning some events. And the way to do that is join the Discord and Telegram and get the information once it comes out. But today we just unpack a lot, and we only scratched the surface, right?
Yeah, dude. I mean, seriously, this is just the beginning. The team is stacked. Everyone's ready. Everyone's motivated. There's a lot of plans in the pipeline. We are building literally the Nibiru community army. I mean, there already is a community, so we're just taking that to the next level. And I'm personally pumped about everything from the apps like Euclid, Astrovault, everything that's coming out. It's going to be pretty crazy.
Oh, definitely. Show love for those guys. Show love for everybody. Thank you, guys. And we talked about, like you said, we talked about the DeFi ecosystem and the launch of the first Nibiru EVM Mainnet. I think it's the community, right? The community is like also another thing we should be talking about.
Dude, it's all about the community right now. In my opinion, it's one of the most important things for any project, period, across crypto. Community is so incredibly important. So yeah, we're definitely focusing in there, and again, like, we're the alpha, right?
Oh yeah, definitely. And if you like what you heard today, you want to be part of the action, check out the Blossom Ambassador Program. It's a way for the community to get involved, contribute, even earn rewards while helping the Bureau grow. And of course, make sure to join Discord, because I said it again, you get all the lowdown. Discord, Telegram, and follow us on X, where you get real-time updates and connect with the team, like Brandon right there. You see.
Yeah, and y'all can tag us in Discord or Telegram. We're there. If we don't get back to you right away, it's probably because we're planning an event or something like that. But please do. Thank you again to the Bureau team, Euclid, Astrovault, for stopping by today. Really appreciate you guys, all the candid answers and the alpha.
And this concludes Nibiru Unchained. All right, folks. Don't buy the round token. Stack your gains and always keep it unchained. Have a good evening, good night, good morning, or afternoon, wherever you're at in the world. Peace out.